Hello again, friends. It's me, Sarah B. Hiya. How the heck are ya? Hiya. It is Sunday afternoon. I did not wash my hair on Friday, and the way that you just saw me is the way that I am about 90% of the time with my hair, because washing it is becoming a chore, and the only way I can wear it up is in that twist, because otherwise it gets super tangled. Thankfully, the twist is it doesn't get as tangled, so I've at least discovered a way to keep my hair from being so tangled. But I'm just about over my hair, honest to God. My hair is longer than it's ever been. I have proven that I can get my hair to be long. My original thought was, let's just see how long I can get it to grow, but now I just don't. What's the point, I'm wondering? What is the actual heckin' point? I cannot see what I'm doing here. Okay. The only time I wear it down, you would think I could wear it down at work, but I can't, because the headset that I wear, I don't have it with me because it gets caught in the hair. So I still have to have my hair back at work. I still want it to be long enough that I can put it up, because in the summertime, unless you have a pixie cut, having it up is in a ponytail, up is really the only way to be cool, I have found for myself. Let's see, it's the twist. It's been up in that twist for a while. It slides. I take it and I just twist it back up. When I take a shower, it's down to my bottom. It's long. I have succeeded in growing my hair long, and now it's succeeded in severely irritating me. This is the Maybelline gloss, lifter gloss in the color Silk. It's really pretty. I think it's really like a very neutral color, like really close to my lips, but better. All right, so am I presentable? Am I going to embarrass myself if I put this up for my people to see, my family and friends? Let's be honest. It's my family and some strangers, because my friend, most of my friends I talk to face to face. I started doing these check-in videos because my best friend was out of state and we were having a hard time connecting. She was working and I was, you know how it is. But now she's moved back. We're still having a hard time connecting, but not so much as we used to. But anyway, I talk to her. I talk to her at 7 a.m. every morning before she goes to work for about 15 minutes, and sometimes in the afternoons when she gets off. Okay. I am wearing my seatbelt. I have it on. All right. I am set. Ready, set, go. Yes, so, okay. This week has been a doozy, friends. This week I was in the ER with kids twice. Would you like to hear about the stories? Was there anything else that happened this week? Because that happened Wednesday and Friday. As you can see, no snow still. Kids are super disappointed they don't have any. We had a snow mountain, and where we lived, the kids would just go after school. That was like all of December, November and December, and November especially, when the school was still in session. I'll try to remember to insert a picture of it. It was right at the corner of where the school was at, and they would just go play, and it's so sad now. It's not there anymore except for a pile of leaves. But anyway, and it's cooled off significantly, but still no snow, for which I'm actually very thankful. Was there anything going on this week? Kids are back at school. Oh, I was talking last Sunday how they were going back to school on Monday and it's going to get everything done. Well, tricked me. The teachers went back to school on Monday. Kids were out another day. Oh, I felt so betrayed. So betrayed. So Tuesday, actually get the kids back to school and my house back. Jack and I were in the house by ourselves, reestablishing our routine, our nap time. And I said hour. When Jack naps, I lay down a nap too. But, yeah. And the house picked up and put back together, the Christmas trees put away. And then, you know, just doing stuff. Wednesday comes. Wednesday night about 6 o'clock, I was sitting in Jack's room, and he picked up a screw that had got left behind from when I put, I don't know if I ever mentioned this or not, but Mila had locked the bedroom door and fallen asleep in Jack's room. It wasn't Jack's room at that time. It was a room that it was a bunk bed in there, and Christopher had the top bunk, Mila had the bottom bunk, and she had gone in there and laid down, but she'd locked the door, and she went to sleep, and we couldn't wake her up. Nothing that we did could wake her up. It was she wasn't moving. And it got to the point where it was scary, so my husband had taken the doorknob off. And so the door had been without a knob for probably almost a year, if I was having to guess. And so to keep the door closed, I had taken a towel and put it through the circle around it, and then the pressure of having that in there closed on itself, like pinched it, kept it closed. Jack wasn't strong enough to open it. Well, last week, one of the cats decided he wanted to get in the bedroom in the middle of the night and was pushing on the door and got it open. And I go and I shoo the cat away, and I go lay back down, and he did it immediately again. So I ordered a doorknob and I put it in. Well, I didn't need some of the screws, and I guess my bad. This was completely my fault. I did not get it all picked up and put away, the extra screws. And so that doorknob had been in there not quite a week, I guess. Anyway, Jack found one of the extra screws, and he picked it up and he took it to the doorknob, and he was pointing it at like the doorknob like a screw hole and pretending like it was going in there. And I said, oh yeah, that's a screw. I said, where did you find that? And I said, can I have it please? And rather than give it to me, he starts to put it in his mouth. And I said, no, don't put that in your mouth. Well, that alerted every person in the house, and Neighbor girl was behind him in the room. Husband was in front of him in the dining room. I'm beside him. And he starts to put it in his mouth. He puts it in his mouth. And I'm saying, no, get that out of your mouth. Spit it out. And the neighbor girl grabs his head and tilts it backwards. She didn't know. She's 7. She tilts his head backwards and says, she's like, no, Jack, no, get that out of your mouth. We're all screaming. And my husband takes his finger and sticks it in his mouth to get the screw out. And those two actions, the tilting back of the head and the pushing of the finger in the mouth, he swallows the screw. And so Jack swallows the screw, and we're all like, oh my God, what do we do? Because I was supposed to take the kids and take them to, they have a youth group. And I said I don't know, I was in panic mode. I'm like, so what do you want me to do? And my husband's like, you take Jack to the hospital. They're just not going to go. And I said, or you could ask her mom if she wants to take them. She's like, I'll take care of it. You just take Jack and go to the hospital. We live in a small town. I called them and I said, my small child swallowed a screw. Are you guys capable of handling it, or should I take them to the city and have them check it? And the lady said, I would take him to the city because they have the pediatric unit and they have equipment. Hindsight, next time I will just go to the local hospital if it's not like a dire emergency, which this turned out not to be, and have them take an x-ray so we know what we're dealing with and they can look at it and advise. But anyway, I know that now. That's what I ended up doing with the older child on Friday. But anyway, so 6 o'clock. He swallows the screw. Scoop him up and drive 45 minutes to the emergency room. And we're sending out prayer requests, sending out alerts. The screw, now insert a picture, the screw had a pointy tip to it because it was supposed to be screwed into the door frame. And my husband calls and he's like, I found a screw. And I said, if I'm remembering rightly, there should have been 4 screws. I have one in my pocket that I had taken away from him, and then he had the second one in his hand, and then my husband found the other 2. So there were 4 loose screws in this kid's room. That's my bad. That's on me. I did that. I left them. I didn't pick them up after I got done doing the doorknob. There was a box and some paperwork. I just left them sitting on the table, and I didn't put them away. That is completely on me. And I told the neighbor girl later. I said, now you know for future reference that you never, ever, ever, ever tilt back anybody's head when they have something in their mouth, because whatever's in their mouth is going to be pushed back. I said, I know that you didn't mean for anything bad to happen, because she felt bad. I know you didn't mean for anything bad to happen. It was an accident, but now you know never ever to do that again. And then you can stop anybody else from doing that if you have the opportunity. It was a learning experience. He's okay. We know now he's okay. So anyway, we're sitting there in the emergency room, and they get us in real quick for an x-ray, and then we wait for hours and hours. The x-ray confirmed that the screw, and it was right there in somewhere in the middle of his body. And when I have to admit, when I saw that screw in there, I had a little bit of a panic attack. I was completely calm. I am usually very calm about everything. I'm just like, there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to deal with whatever's going on. But when I saw that screw in there and I knew it had that point on it, I kind of had a, and they weren't doing, the hospital was doing nothing about it. It just, they were doing nothing. They're like, just go sit back in the waiting room and wait. What I didn't know that then at that time was that, and here's the lesson for anybody who needs this, that unless the screw, unless it, whatever it is that the child swallowed, unless it pushes your skin and draws blood, the best option is to let it take its course through the body, because otherwise they have to, I don't know if there's another option, but this is what they told me. They would have to cut open his chest or his stomach, go in there, separate everything, and dig that thing out. It's really invasive surgery. And if not, the screw is encased in poop. That's what they told me. And that it would just, the stomach's just going to kind of like inchworm it along. And it hopefully the head of it will go down first, and then it will just kind of come out with the debris, which is what ended up happening. But I sat there for hours. Nobody's told us anything. I kept, we had sent out prayers. Everybody's like, what's going on? I'm like, we're sitting here waiting. They're not doing anything. I don't know what's going on. And I remember telling my husband, I said, they must know that it's going to be okay, because otherwise they would have sedated him. Because that little monkey, he was just being, they never told me to keep him still or anything. And you cannot contain a 16-month-old without, there was no making him sit on my lap and be still. He was climbing in chairs and walking around and just saying hi to everybody. He was so sweet and so calm, like he always is. He is like the most precious, sweet child. And once I saw the picture and I had my little panic attack, I let it go. I knew that God was in control and that he was precious and he was protected, and whatever was going to happen was going to happen. And I had my moment, prayed about it, let God's will be done. And anyway, we're sitting there for hours. I remember telling my husband that they must know something, otherwise they would have sedated him, number one, so that he would be still and stop moving around, or they're going to have a lawsuit on their hands if this screw punctures through something while we're sitting in the waiting room. Hours we waited. It's torturous. So finally they get us back, and that's what the doctor's just like, it's just better to let it take its course. It's not sharp enough to draw blood. If something changes, bring him back in immediately. If there's blood in his urine, if he vomits blood, if he has some stomach pain, if his stomach becomes rigid, those are all signs that something has happened, that there's a problem. Bring him back immediately. But we'll just have to wait and see. And he ended up passing it. That was Wednesday at 6, and I remember Friday morning at 9 o'clock, I called my doctor's office and I said, can we get an x-ray of his stomach so that we can see where the screw's at? I'd rather not go into the weekend not knowing where this thing is. And they're like, yeah, we agree. We need to figure out where it's at, what his status is. She said, has he had any pain or anything like that? And I said, no, he's been completely normal, and he had been. And we were actually getting ready to go, and he had a dirty diaper, and there's the screw. So that's that story. if that ever happens again, I would take him straight to my local ER, have them do the x-ray, and then determine if he needs to be transferred out. Because the transfer would be faster that way than it would be for us to go, because they would know this is an emergent issue, it must be taken care of, versus make an appointment with your doctor for evaluation later on, you know. So then that was that. Friday, Christopher tells me that his heart's racing and he has a pain in his chest. I'm asking him questions, and he says, oh, it happens every so often, and why hasn't he mentioned it before? And I said, well, it usually goes away, and has this happened very often? Yeah, pretty often, and for a very long time. And I said, well, why did you mention it now? And he said, well, the pain was sharper than normal. I said, okay, I'll call the doctor's office. So I went ahead and took him to school. He was calm and didn't seem to be in distress at all. Went ahead and took him to school, assuring him I would call the doctor's office. Well, I did call the doctor's office, and they immediately say, take him to the emergency room. We don't deal with cardiac issues. I'm like, really? Can't you just listen to his heart and make sure there's like no heart murmur or anything? They're like, no, you have to take him to the ER. And so they're like, we recommend you take him to St. John's, which was the hospital in the city. And I'm like, okay. And I thought to myself, there's no way I am taking Jack and Christopher to St. John's to sit there for another who knows how many hours for something that's possibly nothing. So I called the local ER and I said, yeah, my kid says he's got this thing. Can you at least listen to his heart can you do an initial workup? And they're like, absolutely. If it's something serious, we'll have to transfer you out. And I said, I understand that. I don't know if it's something serious. I suspect that it's an anomaly. I just need to know kind of where I'm at here. And so they're like, yep, nope, no problem. So I yank him out of school and I take him to the ER, and they hook him up and do an EKG on him. They listen to the heart, ask him the questions, and they let him sit there for a while, take his blood pressure, and the doctor says everything looks completely normal. There is nothing abnormal here. What he's describing could be from an asthma attack if he's having trouble breathing. And he said, I recommend that you make an appointment with your regular doctor and follow up that way. Like, that's fine. I will do that. Thank you very much. So that's why I said, next time I'm just going to go to the local ER. They can do it. We were in and out in an hour. We went in there was nobody in there. We went in there, somebody else came in after us, but they got us immediately back, evaluated. We had to wait a little while for they did an x-ray to make sure his heart wasn't enlarged. They did the EKG to make sure there wasn't any kind of signs of an event. They did everything that a bigger hospital would have done. They just did it faster. The only difference is if there had been an event or something going on, they would not have been able to act. If he had shown any kinds of distress at all, I would have taken him to the city. So, anyway, that was the week. It was a lot. And my house, because of being at the ER Wednesday night, all day Thursday, I just focused on watching Jack and making sure he was okay, and so I didn't get much done around the house. And then I was gone all day Friday dealing with that with Christopher, and so my house did not get put back together the way I really would have liked. Of course, I'm not sure my house is ever going to get put back together, quite honestly, the way I really would like. if it ever gets put back together, then the minute that I go to work, it gets unput back together, and then I have to spend the whole week trying to put it back together again. That's just the cycle of things. But as of this point, everybody seems to be well. No damage from anything. I'm going to be making an appointment for Christopher. I don't know if I've mentioned it or not, but all of the kids were drug exposed in utero. They a variety of drugs. So there could be some things that they have to deal with because of that. I don't know, like the opiates, they told me that, you can't study the effects of opiates on the womb, on the baby in the womb, that's illegal, but from, after the fact, and so they, these are just some of the things that have been observed. I don't know, I'm not sure if there needs to be some health conditions that come up because of the drug use from whenever they were in the womb cooking, The doctor asked me if Christopher had asthma, and I was like, no. He's like, really? I was like, no, he doesn't have asthma. But I had forgotten when he was 4, he had gotten really sick, and they gave him a breathing machine, and he had breathing treatments. But he outgrew it, and he hasn't had any problems. He hasn't had any problems with his breathing in the last 3 years. And I had completely forgotten about it. I'm like, oh my goodness. 'Cause the guy's like, in his chart, he says he has some kind of reactive asthma. And I'm like, oh. Well, yeah, that did happen, but he hasn't had any problems since then. That's why he said that maybe the pains were from his breathing. So, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully everything will be fine. Maybe he just needs an inhaler every now and then. We will see. I'll try to remember to keep you posted. Laid down. My husband got home from work early Friday afternoon. They just didn't have a lot going on, and I was able to lay down at 4 o'clock because Jack and I were with Christopher at the hospital. He didn't get his nap Friday, and I didn't get my nap. And when my husband came home, I'm like, I'm gonna go lay down because I had to work Friday night. I had to be at work at 11. I'm gonna go lay down for a little bit. I ended up sleeping for 5 hours. Like, I guess I was tired. It's stressful being in the hospital, worrying about people, especially little people. It's stressful worrying about what's a sharp object inside your little kid doing. It's stressful. Anyway, got some doctor's appointments coming up this week and next week. I know I have a doctor's appointment for my thyroid doctor. I think it's my thyroid. She's a specialist. And then Christopher, let's see here. Mila has a teeth cleaning appointment. Christopher has an eye appointment. He has to see a specialist because he has what's called amblyopia. I think I'm saying that right. And it's in both eyes, though one of his eyes is way worse than the other. It's where if you were to cover your eyes and your eyes relaxed, most people's eyes would still be in the forward-facing position, but his eyes go to the sides. And so he has to correct his course with his eyes, and so he sees a specialist. The doctor recommended he wear glasses, but he refused to wear them. $400 worth of glasses he refused to wear. Not for vision, but just to help make it easier to help him remember to correct his eyes. But he does pretty good. He does pretty good with it. Sometimes I'll have to be like, fix your eye, because one of them will be kind of off. It's hard to tell a little kid. We've known this he's been seeing this doctor for a couple of years. It's hard to tell a little kid that if you don't make sure your eyes stay going forward, that the muscles won't develop to keep them that way, and you could end up with two eyes going in different directions. They think that's cool. I'm like, you won't think that's cool whenever you're 16 wanting to talk to a girl. Anyway, other than that, I don't think there's much going on. Seriously thinking about cutting my hair, though. I really truly am. I for sure want to get this dark brown off. I don't know how. See, I feel like it's still dark brown here. I feel like if I'm going to get that off, I'm going to have to go pretty high. I don't know. And then sometimes I'm just like, well, just leave it alone. You're going to wear it up anyway. Just put it up and go on about your business. I wish I could remember where that picture was. When I was younger, I used to have a hairstyle that I wore probably right around my chin, and it was really had a lot of volume. The curl was nice. I made it. It was really flattering. And sometimes I think, why don't you try that again? And then I think to myself, because you won't be able to put it up in a ponytail, and it'll be in your face all the time, and you'll be hot, and you'll be agitated, and be like, why did you cut your hair? It took years for it to grow that long. And if I cut it, then I'll never know how long it could have gotten. Maybe if I cut it like 6 inches off, it'll give me enough of a boost so I can continue to let it grow. I don't know. Oh, this is my last week on the Quisemia, the generic Quisemia. I get to change, or I'm hoping to change to the name brand for next Friday is my last dose of the generic version. I'm hoping to start the next dose, the same dosage on the name brand version starting Saturday. I'm hoping to be able to do that this week. So, because I just don't feel like, I still don't feel like it's working very well. I'm not seeing any more changes. I don't feel like I'm really I don't really feel like I'm taking anything at this point. I know I am. I don't know. It's really hard to describe. It's really hard to describe. I'm thinking about that Sierra Huff, her Fat Girl Diaries. I really enjoy her and her content. She kind of fell off at the end of the year around Christmas time, and then she came back and did a video. She stopped weighing herself daily, and then at the New Year she came back and she's like, I'm doing a 40-day fast. My current weight is 279 pounds, and she had got her daily weigh-ins. She was hovering at 249. She hovered at 252 for a long time, and then it got down to 249. And then she stopped recording and took a break and got up to 279. And she started 2025 at 270 pounds, and then she ended it at 279 pounds. But what she said what I didn't know was that at the beginning of the year, before I even started following her, she had gotten up to 325 pounds. So she went from 270 to 325 down to 249 and then back up to 270. I'm like, gosh, I just don't know if I could handle the whole, not the whole world, not everybody in the whole world follows her, but that's a lot of up and down. I'm pretty consistent with my fatness. It gradually creeps up a little. It got as high as I'm like, this is enough. I don't want this to get any higher, so I'm trying to bring it down. But there's like a 20-pound range that I've stayed at. I haven't gone below a certain point. I haven't gone above a certain point. That's just, I'm like, oh my gosh, all that work she did, and she's higher at the end of the year than she was at the beginning of the year. But then she does, like I said, she said she was doing a 40-day fast, and she already went from 279 down to 250 something, and I don't know, I think she's on day 8 the last time I checked. So she's back on, I think she's probably back on track. She's definitely learning what she needs to do to lose weight. She just needs to stick to it, probably. I don't know. I don't know. I really like her. I hope she can do it. Yeah, I don't know. I have thoughts. Anyway, I'm actually about home, so I'm going to end it here. Get that sun out of your eyes, friend. I pray that you are safe and happy and healthy, and that all of you people in your life have only good health and are doing well. I love and adore you, and I look so forward to talking to you again. I pray the next time that we can talk, there's a little less excitement to share. Yeah. I'll talk to you again, friend. Bye.